Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to call the special council meeting to order, that being the meeting of Warwick Township Council, December 9th. And today's purpose of the meeting is the budget presentation from our CAO treasurer, Trevor. I remind council of disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest. Does anybody have one at this time? Seeing none, thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody who's joining us through our YouTube link. Welcome. I'm now going to do the acknowledgement of ancestral lands. We acknowledge that the Township of Warwick is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, as well as the many Indigenous nations in Ontario whose footsteps have marked them for centuries. We also wish to acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 29 and Treaty 25 territories signed by Chippewa chiefs. We offer our respect and gratitude for these lands. I'm going to go to number 5 on the agenda, Council, and that's councillors' commitments and items. First off, does anybody have anything for 5A council commitment dates they'd like to add today? Anybody? Seeing none? Okay, as always, if you have something, let the clerk know and we'll add it to the list. I'm going to do councillor items now. I'm going to start with Councillor Westgate. Did you have anything for today, Councillor?
I have nothing for today.
Yes, sir. Councillor Morris?
I have nothing for today.
Councillor Manning?
I have nothing for today. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Kellenberg?
Well, just one thing, I'd like to thank the Santa Claus Parade Committee for doing a great job this year again. Everybody said it was a great parade. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I have one thing today, and what it is, I'd like to congratulate the East Lambton U11 hockey team. They won the Alvinson Silver Stick on the weekend, and they'll be going on to international. So congratulations on behalf of council and the community. Great job. It was a real barn burner of a game. It was a 3-2 score. So congratulations to the coaches, managers, and everybody associated, as much as the players did all the work at the end of the day. So congratulations. That's all I have today. So we have no staff items verbal today. And we have no delegations. And we have no staff reports. But the purpose of today's meeting is the presentation of the budget for 2026. I'm going to call on Trevor Jarrett, our CEO treasurer, to make the presentation of the proposed 2026 budget. Trevor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Maddie, if you can go to the draft budget first. One's draft, one's capital. That's one. And flip the first one. The first few slides, again, as per usual, deal with reserves and debt per resident. Ideally, you want to see your reserves rise and your debts drop. As you can tell, a couple of years ago, we had a big addition to basically the infrastructure, that being the onboarding of the LCC, which brought down our reserve funds and increased our debt. But trending since that time, 2025, 2026, reserves are going up. Next slide. And debt per resident is going down. So we're back in the right debt. Now, when you take out third-party debt, our own source debt, which leaves the next slide of just third-party debt, again, is coming back down. So our borrowing from other parties is coming down accordingly. Layered over one another, you can see our reserves per resident still are surpassing the debt per resident, which is the position that we've tried to do. The last slide is debt servicing, again, trending downwards, and that incorporates your interest costs and also your principal costs that you can do on a yearly basis. Next slide relays 2025 general rates and taxes per household for a estimated $300,000 CVA household. We are still the lowest below the county of Lambton. We continue to hold that. Essentially a 1% increase for us is less than 0.3% for the highest of this chart. So we have some elasticity in that. Next slide. we will see as we get through this and it'll get explained more. We're still going to be operating under a combined deficit position on our operating budget. But our operating deficit has declined this year relative to last year. There are a few things that tie into it. One being there's been no CVA growth increase for now 6 years. If we had had that, we would be in a position whereby it would have basically piggybacked and carried itself. 1% tax increase is going to increase your taxes by 32,000. We drafted this budget built on a 5% tax increase. That's not the recommendation. It's just we landed at 4.8 last year. And before coming in with our final numbers, we're going to draft in 5%. When we flush it all out today and in January, then we'll make our recommendation at that point in time. Off the growth that we know of, $38,000 will be raised just by growth of industrial and residential in the town. And a 5% tax increase brings in 156,000 combined. It brings in $194,000 additional revenue. The county and education tax rates are unknown at this time. We are 1.8% lower than the county Lambton, 9.7% lower than the second lowest rate in Lambton County, and only 63.36% of the average rate. A 5% tax increase would add $34.88 per household for each 100,000 of CVA. Our tax levy splits as our portion is low. You will see our piece of the pie relative to others, if we were medium or high, is significantly lower. So if you filter through these 3 slides quickly, Maddie, you will see how the impact of it is. Next slide, please. This is a lost tax comparison one I'm going to read. If everybody held their rates and we did our tax increase in the next year, we'd be the second lowest. To get to the average or the median point with the tax increase that we're proposing, it would take 13 years. And that's everybody else holding their rates the same. And if we went to the highest, it would take 24 years and everyone again would have to hold theirs. The next slide is 2 down for me, Maddie. These are more for information. This one is the tax simulation. We still draw the bulk of our tax dollars from residential, followed by farm, and the gap there continues to grow. In 2017, residential category provided for $395,000 more. Now it's up to $552,000. That reflects we're building more homes and developments coming into the community. Next slide is in the binder that's been presented. That is the other 200 pages of tabs in here. Operating budget, allocation by department, and the percentages. The greatest proportion is going to go to Parks and Rec, then Public Works, which are actually your boots on the ground departments, general government, protection, and general government. So those numbers remain basically constant year after year. Next slide is one that I started in recent years. Based on our profile of where the revenues come from, it's how revenues are arrived through what stream. Taxation per resident is about $918. Grants, with what we know that we've got coming in so far, is $325, just under. Interest based on what we have in reserves and what we have carrying various bank accounts is adding $137 per year. Host fees, which our type of user fee for us, is $1,158. User fees, rentals of various different facilities, ballparks, hockey arenas, 503. And then the miscellaneous, which if I broke it down, would be about a 3-page document. We just grouped together 250. So the bulk comes from host fee and taxation. Expenditures per resident in the proposal that we're going to eventually land on is $2,043 will be covering operating expenses. Capital expenses will be $1,033. Debt servicing will be $325. Next slide, please. Since the expansion of the Twin Creeks landfill, the cumulative growth of reserves in the surplus has been $16 million. During this period, council have directed staff to invest in long-term investments. As of the end of October this year, we have $3.4 million in two investment portfolios within one investment on top of any reserves we have in specialized reserve funds and other financial institutes. Inflationary pressures, particularly tariffs, they continue to impact us on operating and capital, more so on capital than operating. And the insurance increase year over year has been 133% in the last 8 years. This year, it's only 5% being forecasted. That's the recommendation from our provider. We're seeing it settling a little bit less than that, but we went on the high side, rather present better news in January. Policing cost projection, we did come in at 11% higher than what we were in 2024. So essentially policing and insurance cover 3% of the recommended tax increase that we're going to put forward at the end of the day. The next one is insurance costs, where they're tracking. First blue line is essentially cumulative costs total. The L line is the increase year over year. It seems to have flattened out, which is good. The market has repositioned itself. We're looking at other means to be more active in it. We've invited our insurance adjuster in to do risk assessments. We've completed facility assessments ourselves. All this information gets fed back. We believe it helps in order to maintain and mitigate risk for their side. Next slide, please, Manny. We prepare budgets for operational costs are covered by taxation, the OMPF, user fees, interest rates, and miscellaneous. Capital expenditures and long-term investments are sourced from basically those fee revenues. 2026 sees a funding shortfall of roughly 194, which equates to $52 per resident. Operational shortfall being what it is, efforts will be made before we get the final budget presented to tighten that. We're still working on bringing numbers in and finding out if we have gaps or if there's going to be other pressures that are going to rise. What I present today, it's great for today. I've already got 2 changes come in subsequent to publishing it last Friday. So essentially 5% tax increase still draws 194 from reserves. Our debenture payment principals are 1.2 million, and sourcing, that's all sourced, as I said, from alternative fund sources. 5% tax increase, policing cost increase, OMPF. For the second year in a row, we have gone up, bucking a trend where we've been declining for years. However, OCF formula is calculated off future asset management plan replacements. We saw it go up in 2024 and 2025 because we were early adapters of the asset management plan program, whereby it was OREG 488 27. We had put in the pieces early. So now that we're there, others are catching up. So our relative value is lower. We will update values as we get more studies to bring that more current and continue to do that. Our risks essentially the same. Capital overruns. The market is still very risky. We've got no investments going into the one fund forecasted for this year, just due to the overwhelming demand of capital dollars for infrastructure. There's little to no contingency in any department operating budget, and we're going to tighten it. If we had a prolonged emergency situation, we will create an operating deficit that's going to be significant. We've been successful in the past where we've mitigated those by working through the proper channels accordingly. Opportunities. The projected WM Renewable Natural Gas Project is to be commissioned in 2026 Q2. That's going to increase our own source revenues once that comes online. Implementation of various grant programs to stimulate rural development. We just rewrote our CIP as council approved earlier this year. The focus of it is to broaden the offerings. Previously, we were focused on rebuilding the downtown in Watford and the commercial section in Warwick. Now it's more aligned to farm businesses, rural businesses, and more open to a lot more opportunities. We hope to have some new commercial industrial partners, residential growth on multiple sites. The school site, the old school site is building right now with 2 lots built, another 2 in process. And that will continue with the expansion and diversification of our tax base. On top of that, we do have some local funding requests that came into budget. These are not in a slide or anything like that, but they're ones that we have accumulated throughout the year. The draft budget includes 16,000 in unallocated funding for local requests. You've got requests that are lined up at this point in time: Watford Food Bank, Forest Curling Club, and the Watford Girl Guides. Watford Girl Guides is an increase to their already present grant. I've been here for 9 years now. It's been the same levels for 9 years. I think it's reasonable, and I think you may see that in the future, but there is 16,000 sitting there just so that everyone knows. The biggest change that you're going to see in the binder itself resides in Chief Goodhill's realm. We produced 2 budgets, one for the Watford Fire Department and one for the Warwick Fire Department in previous years. It's now been consolidated and amalgamated into one department, 212. So you're going to have the consolidation of the 216 and 250 budgets into 212. We've looked at 2025 spend. We've adjusted a couple of categories up to reflect that, but we know that in the next year or so is going to weed itself out. We have some exposure to that. I don't think it's significant. Both Chief Goodhill and myself sat down, we reviewed it. We think we're okay, but please bear with us if we come back to you throughout the course of the year in the variance and say we missed X or Y. We don't think we did, but there could be an opportunity there. I've mentioned the increases. Part of the operating budget also includes the minor capital budget. The minor capital budget is just over $1 million this year. It's the highest one that we've ever seen. There's a lot of studies in there. We will get more to it. Our final recommendation of what we feel should go forward, because our capital request at this time is just a shade below $10 million. Will be flushed out there, but we are open to council recommendations. And when we leave here, I'm going to invite council to have a discussion with me if there's any questions on anything once we get to there. But that's where we sit right now. Capital budget, Manny, if you can turn there quickly. It's okay. It builds off 20-year long-range capital forecast and also the asset management plan. These are living documents for us. We continually upgrade and go from there. It changes based on priorities, whatever available funding is there, emerging legislations, trends, whatever. We try to build it in, work with specialists. If we don't have the knowledge, we will make calls and everything like that. We enveloped in facilities condition report in 2019. We did a new one 2 years ago. It's layered into it now. It's not the best way to do it, but it tells us what we can expect and it puts placeholders in certain years. Boots on the ground is where we generally get everything from, be it going out doing condition reviews with council or having the users or our primary staff who do it on a daily basis identify where the gaps are, and we will do that. After approval, which is in January, township have greater time to available and complete the capital program of securing competitive pricing for work to be completed in town in a timely manner. At the end of today, I will have 3 requests that I want to move forward with immediately. One is operational, 2 are capital, and I will explain them at the time. Next slide. In this preliminary draft of the budget, we're projecting roughly 3.814, 3.815 in capital. 2.7 of that's going to come from host fees. OCIF formula is 573. Gas tax, which is now Canadian Community CCBF, is 119,000, and pulling from water and sewer reserves is an additional 423,000. The reserves, there is a tab there. Please review. There are some unencumbered funds there that can be discussed. I cannot tell you today, 2 slides, Maddie. I cannot tell you what our capital shortfall is going to be. We haven't got that. We're going to flush it out, as I said, coming up to the 22nd, and listen to council direction on what projects we believe should be going forward. There are some things that can change right now. Anything that came through Parks and Rec for this budget were, first of all, recommendations put forth through the Parks and Rec committee. It wasn't done through staff. Staff would make the recommendations. Conversations would occur in that committee. Public Works still are reviewing several projects in the capital budget to determine whether or not they can be deferred. We deferred a few projects in past years, others not. One project that we've deferred for a couple of years is the Nauvoo Confederation intersection. It's a county project. Our portion of it has increased by 8% relative to last year. So our portion would be 725 if we go forward with it. I will also ask that 2 projects that you see in the draft today, one being the Watford Fire Station bathrooms, be renamed to Watford Fire and Rescue Structural Repairs. It gives us more flexibility during the course of the year should something else become more emergent. And it's accessibility, and if you have events there. And the second one is we have a couple of items in that are tied to grants. We expect to know by January whether or not we're successful in those grants. If we're not successful, we will remove those and park them for future years. Essentially, that's everything I have to do. The one assumption is that all pricing is accurate. It's accurate to the day we publish. And we think we're okay with that. We do have some large projects that are going to be going off that we built in a contingency for. We might go out, we might be a little bit high, we might be a little bit low, but once approved, we will be able to do that. As of today, as I mentioned, there's 3 projects I wanted to ask for. The first is that council give direction to the Parks and Public Works Manager to RFP the 2026 gravel and calcium program. This will not close until 2026, and no payments for product would happen until the spring after the budget is approved.
Trevor, do you want to take these one at a time?
Please.
I think it'd be easier if we deal with them instead of hearing all 3. We'll deal with them as you've spoken. We've done this in the past, council. It makes good sense. Sometimes there's a competitive advantage by going out early. How does council wish to deal with that particular ask from the treasurer?
We go ahead and
Thank you. That's moved by Councillor Westgate, seconded by Councillor Manning. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, Trevor.
Second is for council to give direction to the Public Works Manager to initiate work on the environmental water servicing study.
Okay. How does council wish to deal with this one? Councillor Morris?
I'll make a motion to do it.
Thank you, Councillor Morris, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? Yes, Councilor Morris?
I wonder, Kyle, could you give us a brief outlay of what that actually is?
Thank you. So it is a study of our existing infrastructure, modeling of our network and our high users to see where our future potential choke points are and what makes sense as a municipality to enhance our future servicing needs, what our options are to get more water to the township in the most efficient manner possible. So we're looking at three potential options to get water flowing to the township as efficiently as possible.
Good with that, Councilor Morris? Thank you very much. Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? That's carried. Trevor?
The last one is a little bit different. The website that we presently have is coming to end of life. The provider we have got a new platform. We've decided to go away from the platform. We had a little bit of contention with them. We believe that they sold us a platform that they knew was coming to end of life. We asked for a discount. We did not get the discount. So we started looking at a larger marketplace. We found a solution that's going to save us significantly today to do the migration and in future operating annual costs. However, our current contract expires with our previous holder on May 31st. So if we haven't migrated by May 31st, then I have to renew that and still do the migration. If I have it approved now, we can have the new provider, who is Loop, start the work. They believe they're going to need anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks to complete, and we will finish within the time frame and give us a buffer so that we don't have to spend additional $25,000 for a different website host.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. And Stephanie has brought the report in the past talking about this very thing. How does council wish to deal with this? I guess we're looking for a motion of support to do so. Deputy Mayor?
I'll move we support that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconded by Councilor Westgate. Any further discussion on this particular item? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you. As for what I want to present today, that is essentially my presentation. I've, as per every year, hope to have this out before Christmas to give council time to digest, come back, ask questions. I will offer the same to any resident who wishes to come forward and have a conversation on anything that's in there or any questions. The one big change, and I better explain it because I didn't, is comparative numbers that we've done are 2024, not 2025. 2024, we've closed. However, when we did the forecast for 2026, we used the 2024 final and also 2025 year to date because we do variances quarterly. And anything that had a pressure point, we based it on the current data also. I spoke to one council member today. Parks and Rec and Public Works have multiple departments that have wages and salaries. So you have to combine them all so you can see exactly what the cumulative total of it is. So you may see one department go down or one section within the department go down, but as an overall department combined, they haven't gone down. There's actually been an increase. The increase came to council at the request of the Public Works, the Parks and Rec manager, about a month ago for an increase in staff and complement in order to provide the level of service for the community and give them more flexibility. If you have any questions, please feel free. If I don't have the answers, we will work to find it. I do want to again thank, first of all, Stephanie for the part that she put in for everything to do with development, particularly the economic development side of it, the new website. Ryan, who's on his way home from vacation, Kyle, and all the rest of staff who've helped put this together. It's challenging. We've got so many moving pieces still, but at the same time, it was a fun exercise to do with everyone getting involved.
All right. Well, thank you, Trevor, very much for that presentation. And also the offer goes out to not just council to go through the binder, but anybody from the public, as Trevor said, is also welcome to come in and ask any questions. His door is always open. So questions, council, at this particular time? And we're going to get into deliberations on January 22nd at 3:30. But is there anything anybody would like clarified? Yes, Councilor Manning.
Yeah, it's a question on one of the last statements you made on there about the Nauvoo intersection there. Just curious, the 8% raise, is that expected to keep happening if we keep deferring this, or is that just kind of a one-off this season? Like, what was the point of that? Like, where did that come?
That is what the engineer who designed it has found, that the construction index has increased in 2025.
So is that expected to keep happening?
I think, and more.
Now, we have had some surprises in the past where we've estimated the repairs at the Watford Fire Hall, and they actually were way under the budget. So let's just hope for a little bit of good luck. But the reality is the index continues to obviously go up. Does anybody else have any questions for today on the budget? Councilor Morse.
Just a quick one for Kyle. I wondered for our January meeting, I'm curious to see how many years of gravel it takes to pay for the tar and chip. Like, I know we'd save our maintenance gravel by having the tar and chip. Are we fooling ourselves by not spending a little more money on tar and chip now and keep putting more gravel on, or should we bite the bullet and do some more tar and chip?
So you see like a cost comparison, like how many years it would take to equate to one or double lift of tar and chip for a road?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on today's presentation? Councilor Westgate.
Just on that tar and chip, I think the tar and chip costs us more in the long run. But because of the plowing, the salt, but it saves us on calcium. So by the time you get it paid for, you have to retire and chip it again. That's pretty well the way it was explained to us before, and I would imagine it's about the same, but it'd be nice to see your take on it.
Thank you, Councilor Westgate. Anybody else at this time? So one of my comments here is that we've had, obviously we've purchased some high ticket items in the last little while. And we've budgeted for those in many cases, putting money in reserves. There's also some big ticket items again in this budget, which again, we're gonna deliberate on and have those discussions in January. So again, please take advantage of sitting down with Trevor and going over the budget if you can, and we'll go from there. But there are some very large ticket items. We also had, thank goodness, in 2025, we didn't have a major weather event, which really helped, but we are still paying for the one in 2024. And we continue to do that, but we have been very successful in the last little while in getting money back on that through the provincial government. And we're hopeful there'll be some more to come in the very near future. So all I would say is I encourage everybody to take the time to go through the book. I know everybody does and always does that. And again, to anybody in the public that would like to sit down with Trevor and go over this, I encourage them to come in as well. It's not getting any easier out there. Our friend in Washington, not our friend, but continues to make it tough with the current economic situation. But anyways, that invitation is open to anybody. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on the presentation before I leave it? Councilor Morris.
Just one, Trevor, I'm just wondering for the public and for ourselves too, the 725,000 for the Nauvoo Confed intersection, that's our share. I wondered, could you, for the January meeting, tell us exactly what we're getting for what it's gonna look like again, please?
We'll bring that back to the table.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on the presentation today before I leave it and go on to the next piece of business? Seeing none. All right. Well, thank you, Trevor. Appreciate the presentation and thank you, everybody. I'm going to go to number 9, new business. Trevor, maybe I'll get you to explain this ask that we've had. It's basically looking for support for a company.
Thank you. There is a provider in town, Twin Creeks Energy Inc., that are looking to build through what's called the long-term 2 capacity service intake window, a facility to generate hydroelectric within the township. For them to go forward to make their submission, they need council resolution in support of this project. We've met with them. We believe this is mutually beneficial to both the proponent and to the township. They've got a brief history in this right now and it'll expand. There is going to be a projected shortfall of energy in this province very soon, particularly when the windmills come offline. So this is the government staging to bring back that capacity so that all the UVs and everything else have power. There'll be more in standby than actually running based on what we have seen, but it's nice to have the availability closer to us.
All right. Well, thank you, Trevor. Any questions? So again, the request is for a letter of support for their submission. How does council wish to deal with the ask? Councilor Westgate,
I'd like to support it.
you counselor, seconded by Deputy Mayor Kallenberg. Further discussion, if any? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay. Anybody have any new business for today before we go to bylaws? Seeing none, then I would go to bylaws. Trevor?
That bylaw 76 of 2025, confirming bylaw, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Moved by Counselor Morris, seconded by Counselor Manning. All in favor? That's carried. Motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Kallenberg and Counselor Manning is seconding that. All in favor? That is carried. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Look forward to getting into this in January. Thank you very much.